Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bob Chernak. I'm Senior Vice President here at the George Washington University. I'm going to have a couple of comments, but I want to encourage all of you to keep on eating and hopefully trying to listen at the same time. We want to try to get through lunch so that everyone has enough time to take a little break afterwards and then continue on with the schedule that commences again at 2:30 after lunch. So keep eating, enjoy each other's company, just try to keep your comments to a whisper among yourselves at the table. But I am pleased to join you this afternoon to participate in the symposium which we're referring to as Welcome Home to Washington, Fostering Higher Education Success for Veterans and Their Families. And hopefully you've had a good morning here so far, and it will continue that way as you move along through the afternoon. Today's program brings together people from a lot of different walks of life. We have researchers, we have practitioners, we have officials from throughout the country to discuss ways that we in higher education can support student veterans' achievements at our colleges and universities. Now, we have individuals from all over the country today. I think we have people from far away as Arizona. We have some folks from Arizona here. They're at the football game. Okay. Kansas. I know we have folks from Kansas. We have Kansas right here represented from the Midwest. We also have representatives from the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Vietnam Veterans of America, Student Veterans of America, and TAPS, among many others who are here today. This topic that we're discussing, how we can better integrate veterans into the society of higher education, is a topic close to my heart because I am myself a Vietnam-era veteran who benefited from the Montgomery GI Bill way back in 1970. And through that GI Bill, I had an opportunity to attend the University of Massachusetts for a master's degree in counseling and in higher education. And up until that time, I had never even thought about going into education as a career. And here it is now 41 years later. And if it weren't for that GI Bill and having the opportunity to retool myself after serving, I probably never would have gotten to be in the career that I'm in. And I think I have some understanding, having faced the challenges of returning to school after serving in the military. It's so encouraging that so many of you from so many different places throughout the country have come together today to be part of this symposium to discuss how we all can support the educational success of veterans and their families as they too transition from the military to the classroom. Now, I just want to make a couple of comments about George Washington University. As an administrator at GW, I'm proud that this institution has supported the current generation of student veterans, and I've observed firsthand how much of a contribution our student veterans have made, not just to the classroom, but to GW life. One individual I've had a chance to work with significantly, Brian Hawthorne, who's sitting right at the front table here, heads up a very active GW veterans group here on campus and has also been very active in Student Veterans in America. And Brian has educated me so much, so quickly to so many of the issues, and he had a very major and leading role in helping this university make the commitment that we did to the Yellow Ribbon program. So I want to thank Brian publicly for that. And I want to also point out something else that sometimes goes unrecognized, but certainly I want to say that this university has put forward a $2.5 million commitment just for this year to support the Yellow Ribbon program. We had budgeted for 300 veterans to come back and start or continue their education here at the university. But a lot of that commitment would not be possible if it weren't for the generous support of some of our donors. And I just want to take this opportunity in this public forum to recognize a recent gift for our student veterans. And this week, the Quick Clot Scholarship Fund was established at GW. And this fund will provide annual scholarship awards for a blend of both undergraduate and graduate student veterans. And the fund was established by the Z-Medica Corporation under the guidance of Brian Herman. Brian is a 1977 graduate of GW with a bachelor's degree in accounting and business. And he joined Z-Medica Corporation as Chief Executive Officer in October 2008. Where he leads the expansion of the company's positioning as a leader in the military medical market. Now, you might be interested to know that Brian's first job here at GW, which I'm sure got him ready to be the CEO of this corporation, was in the registrar's office at GW, where he worked as a file room clerk. Now, you might be wondering, what does that have to do with veteran services and integrating veterans into the mainstream? Now, this is a stretch, but it does, I think, has lent itself to an understanding on Brian's behalf because he worked full-time during college, and he can relate to the challenging schedules that many of our student veterans have while they're trying to balance their own personal lives and family responsibilities, going to class, doing homework, and actually being an intricate part of the university community, such as Brian Hawthorne. But Brian Herman currently lives in Canton, Connecticut with his wife, Sherry, and I believe he has 3 sons of college age yet. They going to college? 2 out of college, and you're still paying tuition for 1. And still, despite paying for 2 tuitions and still being involved in paying those semester bills, he really made a significant contribution. Brian was in attendance at a GW function not long ago, and when he heard what the university was doing in terms of our commitment with the Yellow Ribbon Program, he knew at that time that he wanted to do something. And this scholarship will actually support 4 undergraduate and 7 graduate students each year here at GW to help with their educational expenses. So I want to just ask Brian Herman to please rise and just be recognized, and on behalf of the university, we want to thank you so much for your generosity and contribution to this very, very important project. Thank you. And I'm glad that you could be with us today. Now, this is a real honor for me. I want to introduce what, in my opinion, is a true hero, and that's a GW alumna, Tammy Duckworth, who has joined us today to be at our symposium as our luncheon speaker. Now, you are in, I can guarantee you, for a real treat. This is the 3rd time this academic year, and I'm going to stay and going to listen again, that I've had an opportunity to listen to Tammy Duckworth as she's returned to campus to share her thoughts and inspiring stories with the GW community. Now, in April, you should know that Secretary Duckworth joined us to announce GW's participation in the Yellow Ribbon Program right out here in Cogan's Plaza. And GW was one of the first universities in the country, incidentally, to step up to the plate and say that, hey, we wanted to participate in this program. And then just about a week and a half ago, I think it was on October 15th, and I was present at the evening event, Secretary Duckworth was the inaugural recipient of the GW's Colin Powell Public Service Award. And Secretary Duckworth is truly a fitting person to win the first annual GW Award dedicated to public service, and also, I might add, a very fitting person to address our luncheon guests this afternoon. Now, let me just give you a little short, brief introduction to GW alumna L. Tammy Duckworth. And this is a paraphrased version, I might add. But Tammy Duckworth was nominated by President Barack Obama to serve in the Department of Veterans Affairs as Assistant Secretary for Public and Intergovernmental Affairs, and was actually sworn into this position on April 24th this year. Now, Secretary Duckworth has dedicated her life to serving our country. Secretary Duckworth served in Iraq as an assistant operations officer and also flew combat missions as a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. During a mission north of Baghdad in 2004, her aircraft was ambushed and a rocket-propelled grenade struck the helicopter she was co-piloting. And as a result, Secretary Duckworth lost both of her legs and partial use of one of her arms. She received many decorations for her actions, including the Purple Heart, the Air Medal, and the Combat Action Badge. Now, Secretary Duckworth has dedicated her life to public service, advocating on behalf of disability rights and veterans. In 2007, she received the Hubert H. Humphrey Civil Rights Award and was named the 2008 Disabled Veteran of the Year by the Disabled American Veterans. And in 2008, she was selected by then candidate Obama to deliver the presidential campaign's key address on veterans' rights at the Democratic National Convention. And in 2009, she was named as the American Veterans, we probably know it better as AMVETS, Silver Helmet Award winner. Secretary Duckworth is an inspiring individual, and you might also find this amazing and reflects the uniqueness of this woman. Recently, Secretary Duckworth completed the Chicago Marathon, both in 2009 and 2008, fulfilling a promise, as she told me just earlier before we started this program, that she made to herself while she was at Walter Reed Medical Center. And she is also, despite everything I've told you about her helicopter being shot down, she has resumed flying and recently received a statement of demonstrated ability from the FFA, certifying her to fly aircraft without the use of assistive devices. Quite an accomplishment. And I might add to even, and I told you this is paraphrased, just to remind you, she has declined her Army medical retirement to continue her service in the National Guard. Tammy Duckworth is truly an amazing and unique individual. I want to thank you so much for being here with us today and for all you've given to the United States of America in service and in inspiration and certainly in demonstrated courage and leadership. So it is an extreme pleasure for me to introduce to you our keynote speaker this afternoon, Secretary Tammy Duckworth.
I think my mom sent him that intro. or something. Thank you so much. I'm going to put this up here because I will drop it if I don't. Okay. Thank you very much, Vice President Chermak. Good afternoon, everyone. It's always great to be here at GW among old and new friends. And first, I'd like to thank the GW leadership team for hosting today's symposium. It's clear that this university has a true dedication to supporting her veterans. I applaud your persistent work to ensure that the university is an environment where veterans can succeed, both here academically, but well into their future. I'd also like to thank all the conference participants from the higher education medical communities who took time out to come here today. With this symposium, you are addressing some of the most important issues facing our student veterans. And before I go on, Brian, I don't know if all of you understand what Quick Clot is, but the fact that this product was even developed, there we go, we have it. It is saving lives on the battlefield. What it does, it is a powder that gets put on wounds and it immediately allows blood to clot, and it is saving lives. It is innovative, it is groundbreaking, And so many of us would not have made it home without it. So just for that alone, thank you. Next, I'd like all the veterans in the audience to please stand and be recognized for your service to our nation. Veterans. Thank you. There are always more than you realize are actually there, so thank you for standing. On behalf of Secretary Shinseki and all of VA, thank you for your service. Thank you for each one of you for being here. It is always an honor to call my fellow veterans brothers and sisters. You know, when our service members come home, I think that we can all agree that they deserve the very best opportunities that this country can give them. And that includes access to affordable housing, employment, quality and affordable health care, and of course a good education so that they can become productive citizens. But as most of you are well aware or have even experienced yourself, transition from active duty to veteran status is not always easy. In the military, you are part of a close-knit family with constant support around you. In fact, sometimes you almost love the guys next to you more than anyone else in the world at that moment. And the reason for that is that they're there facing the danger shoulder to shoulder with you no matter what. But what happens when you come home? That support system, that family that you had in the military is gone. And our veterans are just another citizen in their community trying to get a job to provide for his family or to go to school and get an education. They oftentimes feel isolated and they don't know where to turn. And they think that no one understands them. And sometimes people, well-meaning, but they even ask insensitive questions like, so, how many people did you kill while you were over there? As if it was some sort of a score on a video game. Our veterans serve this country with a steely determination and a dedication to the mission that is difficult for those who have not worn the uniform to understand. The question that should be asked of our veterans is, how can I help you to achieve your goals now that you have defended the American dream for me? This is why it is vital for local communities, including the education community, to come together and become our veterans' new support system. But it's more than just telling him that you're there for him. It's about fully embracing our warriors and working to understand the many unique issues facing them, like PTSD and TBI. So I'm so pleased that so many schools are doing exactly that and have been proactive in their efforts to better understand veterans and are creating veteran support groups, veteran centers, and even now adaptive programs for disabled veterans. Let me give you an example of a program that I worked with back in Illinois. That's Southern Illinois University. They created a disability support services program for veterans that they call the Success Program for Vets. It pays for veterans' fees at the Student Health Center. It pays for their fees at the physical therapists, dentists, and other services. They sponsor events so veterans can get to know one another, offers a place for veterans to go and hang out in the student union. Sometimes you just want to be there and not talk to anyone, but you want to be there with a buddy who's been there also. It has a newly built rec center with special equipment for veterans who are facing new physical challenges and much more. One of the very innovative things that they're doing is that they realize that many of the veterans coming into their programs are having some challenges with English and math skills. While they're bright and they're scoring well on all the exams, they're a little behind in that. So they're buying laptops and sending computer software to the veterans even before they show up on campus so that they can start working on some of these programs before they show up and so that they start off on day one equal footing with their classmates. Here at GW, you've done amazing things. In fact, GW was the first school in Washington, D.C. to participate in the Yellow Ribbon program, and I thank you for that leadership because I think you spurred a lot of other schools to step forward when they heard GW was doing it. When our colleges embrace our student veterans and act as their advocate, they ease the transition into civilian life and allow them for the tools that they need to succeed. I know that reaching the veteran population and trying to get them to seek assistance is not always easy, and the reason for that is that our veterans are stubborn. I love them to death, but they are stubborn. They're hard-headed, and that's what made them the greatest military on the face of the earth. But that strength that reluctance means that they're slow to ask for help. You know, they've been trained, and the phrase in the military is physically fit and mentally strong. They have been the pillar of strength that others depended on, and now they themselves find it difficult or do not know how to ask for help. But by working together, VA, schools, local governments, community, ethnic and religious groups, we can reach out to our veterans and become that new family that they need. You know, I love my job. I get to work for Secretary Shinseki, and I get to serve at the pleasure of President Obama, and I get to provide benefits and services to our veterans and to take care of my buddies. But I want to tell you about one particular veteran who basically gets me out of bed every morning, and on the days when maybe I just don't want to get out of bed, and some of you have had those days, I'm sure, but on the days when I just want to stay home, I think about Joe Dan. And John, you may remember Joe Dan from our time together at Walter Reed, but Joe Dan Worley was a Navy corpsman. Any Navy vets here? Sailors? There you go. You know what a corpsman is. A Navy corpsman is the medic, and he is the medic that is assigned to a unit of Marines, and they're his Marines. Joe Dan was a Navy corpsman in Iraq and was in the fourth vehicle of a convoy when the first two vehicles drove into a kill zone, an ambush. And unlike everyone else who did what they were supposed to do, which is grab their weapons, ran for cover, and set up return fire, Joe Dan, being the medic, did what he was supposed to do. He grabbed his medical bag and he ran into the kill zone because his Marines were there and they were hurt. Halfway up to the front of that column, he was hit by an RPG which, by the grace of God, did not explode, but it knocked off his leg. And it destroyed the other one. And so he fell to the ground, and this is what Joe Dan did. He put a tourniquet on himself. While sitting there, putting a tourniquet on his leg, he was shot in the back and in the shoulder. He grabbed his bag and continued to crawl forward, pulling himself with his arms into the kill zone. Because you know what? His Marines were still hurt, and his Marines still needed him. He proceeded to sit on the ground, and he gave aid to his Marines until every single one of them had been scheduled to be evacuated out of there, until every single one of them had what they need. And only then did he put a T on his own head to show that he had a tourniquet, gave himself a shot of morphine, and passed out. He was 22 years old when he did this. I had the great privilege of being there the day General Pace, a Marine, and Marines love their corpsmen, awarded Joe Dan the Bronze Star with a V device for valor, and wept as he did it. That's who I serve. That's why I get out of bed every morning, because Joe Dan was there for those Marines, and he would have been there, and regardless of whatever happened to him, he would have died crawling into that kill zone to take care of his Marines. I'm not asking each and every one of you to do that, but I am asking you to think about what this remarkable young man did, and to think of where he is now and where he can be in the future, and what small thing we can do as a community to help care for guys like Joe Dan. In April, Secretary Gates and Secretary Shinseki were given the task to build a fully interoperable electronic record system that will provide each member of our military a virtual lifetime electronic medical records that will help us transition from Department of Defense to the Department of Veterans Affairs. And this is critical. One of the things that happened to me when I left Walter Reed to go over to the VA system was that I left Walter Reed with my full set of medical records, completely electronic from DOD, and I went over to Veterans Affairs and I said, here I am, I need to apply for my benefits. They knew who I was. I'd been talking to them for a couple of months, working with my VA liaison who was already at Walter Reed, and they said, great. Come back in 3 months when you can have an appointment to see a doctor and we'll give you a medical exam. I came back and I saw a physician's assistant and I had to strip down and show him what was left of my legs to prove that I was an amputee. Because the way the regulations were written, because of the way the systems are, the VA could not accept the DOD's records from the very surgeon who amputated my legs. It was humiliating. And I will never, ever let another veteran have to go through that process again. And that is why we're doing what we're doing at VA. with the lifetime electronic medical records. From the day that our veterans enlist to the day that they are laid to rest in one of our national shrines, their records should follow. When we do this, we're going to be able to process claims much faster. We're going to be able to allow our veterans to get better care. And we're also going to be expanding our care for veterans. Right now, there are about 500,000 veterans who served honorably. They're called Priority 8 veterans who served honorably but do not have a service-connected disability. And they were deemed to have been making too much money to be able to get VA care. And too much money was $40,000 for a family of 4. And that has changed. This year, Secretary Shinseki opened up the Priority 8 enrollment, and we hope that by 2013 we will have enrolled all 500,000 of them. And to date, we have over 100,000 who have come back into the system. So we are expanding health care in VA so that all of those veterans, and many of them are student veterans, can access the health care at a time when they can't afford private insurance. We're always going to be expanding health care in VA. And whatever happens with the national health care debate, veterans' benefits and veterans' health care will not be touched. We're also working to end homelessness across America. Any night of the week, 25% of the homeless are veterans. And any time a veteran sleeps on the streets of this nation, we are all dishonored. And so we have dedicated $2 billion to helping to fight homelessness. But in order to fight homelessness, it's not that you have to build more shelters and more beds. What you have to do is stop that downward spiral, which means that we help them get a good education, the ones who need an education. We help them get into schools who may not understand what exactly are the skills of a tank driver, what exactly are the skills of an Apache mechanic, and help them figure out a way so that they can transition that into resumes, but also college applications so that they can go to school and gain civilian skills that build on the tenacity and the dedication and the leadership that they gain in the military. It's also helping them find affordable housing. It's also helping them get health care. It's also helping treat them for PTSD and TBI. And one of the things that I tell every one of my veterans, and for those of you in the healthcare field, if you are working with veterans, the way that I get through to my buddies is to say, listen, if you were shot or had your leg blown off, you would go have that wound cared for. Why would you not care for a wound to your brain? These are combat wounds, and they deserve treatment just as much as my legs deserve treatment. So get the care that you need. It is the right thing to do. I want you to know that we are working very hard to fix the problems that we've had with GI Bill. In the past 6 months, we've received nearly 290,000 applications of eligibility for the new GI Bill. We've increased our communications with veteran schools. We hired 760 new processing personnel, and we've been averaging about 3,000 hours of overtime every weekend. It's the first semester, and we're learning that there have been some flaws in some of the regulations and the policies, and we're working to fix them. But Secretary Shinseki decided that this was not enough. So he took charge and authorized that special emergency checks up to $3,000 should be given to student veterans who applied for education benefits but had not received payment. To date, and I think this number is as of Monday, we have issued $175 million in checks to our student veterans in these emergency checks so that the veterans should not be penalized by the bureaucracy. Whenever VA makes a decision from now on under this leadership, we will make the decision in the benefit of the veterans. So instead of making veterans hear from us, we're reaching out to them. And I know that some of you guys out here have waited for your payments, and I'm here to say I am sorry. I am sorry that we did that. And we're working as hard as we can to speed up the process. You earned this benefit through your service, and you deserve better. The post-9/11 GI Bill program is starting, and it will be around for many generations. And being the first is never easy, but it is a special responsibility that we take on with pride and with our veterans to make it right. We care, but we are also your advocate. We're here to listen to your concerns, and we're not going to be your adversary. To the veterans who are participating in GI Bill, take full advantage of it, as well as other VA services and the programs available from your schools. You know, there's really no reason that I should be alive right now. There's no reason that I made it home from Iraq, except that 4 amazing men in my air crew took care of me and made sure I got home to my family. So I am not going to waste my second chance. And I am going to live my life to the fullest. And I will live up to the actions of my crew. And I will live up to Jodan, because these men and women deserve nothing but that. So thank you for allowing me to be here today. I really am so proud that you're doing this here at GW. I urge you to continue to take what you learn here at the symposium back home, implement it in your programs. After all, if the GI Bill was able to build the middle class after World War II, if the GI Bill was able to produce university vice presidents, if the GI Bill was able to produce leaders across this nation and build the wealth of America after World War II, think of what it can do going into the next century with these men and women who don't know how to quit. And I know that there are non-Army guys here, but it's the warrior ethos. I will never quit. I will always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat.